Linux, right? The basics of operating systems, right? Going with your networking security. So these basic things will be handled by some particular trainer for you. So he'll be taking care of the basic parts. The actual things related to DevOps, application related components, I'll be taking up. And then you have some advanced things, like not advanced, you can say these are like kind of additional add-ons like Splunk, something related to Prometheus, Grafana, monitoring, right? Some kind of how DevOps is associated with machine learning and AI. So these are like kind of add-ons, you can say, right? So these things also we are going to be like taught by some other trainers. So there will be multiple trainers which will be opted for different topics moving forwards, right? Yeah. And coming to the part is like in the last session when I said there were DevOps practices, right? Now let me talk about those practices. Now in this, there are going to be a different set of practices which we guys need to start implementing it. So here, the first thing is like generally whenever we talk about DevOps, right, there is something called like version controlling. So this is the actual DevOps. I said like prior to DevOps, there are a lot of things that you need to go through: cloud computing basics, then operating system basics, scripting basics, right, application basics. You learn all them. Once that particular part is done, then you will get into the actual DevOps domain. In this particular DevOps domain, we are going to start with the initial phase called as version controlling system. Right. So when we start working with this concept called version controlling, right, there will be different set of tools that you are going to learn in this. These are like the primary things I can say, right? So in the version controlling system, you'll learn about a tool called as Git, which basically acts like a client for you. It's a client software. Then you'll be like learning something called like GitHub. So this is going to be your service. He's a provider and he's a consumer, you can say. So this is the first thing that we initially get started into the DevOps part. Why? Because if you remember, like I said, DevOps is trying to solve what problem? There was a kind of difference or friction between development and operations. For that reason, our products were not getting delivered faster. And in order to resolve that only, we are going into the DevOps, right? Now, if you see the definition of DevOps like in the last part, and also, so we use this reference site to understand what is the definition for DevOps, right? Yes, it was saying like what. So this DevOps lifecycle, end of the day, we try to implement a set of practices, I said, right? In that, version controlling is one of them, right? And they are automating the process between the development and IT teams so that you can build, test, and release the software more faster and reliable. That's a standard definition. Now, in DevOps, we have some practice called as CI/CD. We call it as continuous integration and delivery. And if you see this part, it's almost coincides with the definition of DevOps. If you see closely, it says in software engineering, CI/CD or CI/CD is a combined practice of integration and delivery or deployment, in which what it is trying to do, it, yes, exactly, it bridges the gap between development and operations by enforcing automation in building, testing, and deploying your application. Right? So almost like what we can see, the definition with respect to what you say, our CI/CD and DevOps, both are almost coinciding with each other, right? And here, if I get into this CI/CD, right, it's a practice. Now, in order to go with all these particular CI/CD practices, guys, there are like what you said, different things that we try to achieve here. So using version controlling, I said, right? So I'll just talk about only CI part. Now you see here, there are different set of practices. You see, common practices that are included. You see, maintaining code repository, version controlling, right? You see, build automation. I said right in the last part, we're going to see all this. Now these are all subsets of DevOps. So if you want to implement DevOps at the end of the day, you need to go through all these particular practices. So in that, version controlling is one of them. Similarly, later, we are going to talk about continuous integration and delivery. In that, there are again sub practices, right? Even this version controlling also, it's part of it, but generally we keep it as a separate entity. This is where code management happens. Once the code management is done, then you're going to talk about something called like CI/CD practice. In this CI/CD practice, we are going to talk about build management. Right? This is also one of the process that you need to understand manually first. Later, you guys are going to start working with respect to automation. Reason you remember in the last session, I said, build means converting the source code into binary code, right? Now that process you will learn in this part actually. But in order to implement this practice, in order to understand this build management, right? Again, same thing, guys, a tool should be used. In this particular scenario, we are going to work with multiple things, but primary focus would be on something called as Maven. Right. So this particular tool, what it basically does is, it does exactly same thing what I discussed. It converts your source code into binary code or executable codes. Once the binary code come up, I said, then we'll go with the next phase called testing also, right? We discussed one by one that in the life cycle process, we had all these processes. Now, once that build is done, we need to manage the testing. In order to implement this particular part, yes, we are going to check out again different entities here too. You got something called as JUnit, and you got something called like SonarQube. This is related to the testing phase. Similarly, I said there is something called like release, where you store your products. I said your company can have different versions of your project. Now, if you want to store the different versions of the product, then we need to go with the release parts. Now, in these releases, we are going to learn something called like Sonatype Nexus.
Hi Ravi, one question.
Go ahead, Shrikant.
So this JUnit and SonarQube is unit testing or else?
One is for unit testing, one is for vulnerability testing.
Okay. So actually, I heard that Selenium also it will be there for testing. So
Yes,
we
but
will.
yes, Selenium is for functional testing. We are not going to see the functional testing here.
Okay,
Right?
got
Yeah.
it.
Okay, right. So for release management, we'll be working with something called like Sonatype Nexus. And with this part, what you say, our build, our testing, and our release happen. Then we need to go with the deployment parts. Like I said, we'll learn some app servers and all this here. Initially, the easiest way of deploying, simple, what you say, we'll take some server on the cloud and we'll deploy. But later, these deployments will be done in a little bit complex manner, like using containerization model. You'll be working with Kubernetes and all those things. But initial part, like I said, in order to go with, just we'll use some EC2 server from the cloud. And we will set up something like, what you say, our app server. And then we will deploy our product on this so that clients can access it from here. Right? Okay. These are the initial phases. Now, what I discussed, right? All these come under development phase. I said 2 steps of our course: development, operations. What we are discussing right now, this comes under the first phase, development phase. So once this part is done, then you have your application up and running. Meaning what? As a client, we can go ahead and see the functionality of our application up and running. Once this particular phase is done, right? I already discussed what you did all this for a specific version of the application, 1.0. Again, if you have new features, right? For 2.0, you need to repeat all of this, meaning you need to reuse all these tools once again. For 3.0, again, you go ahead and reuse all these things. But that's where I said we require some kind of automation, right? Then comes little bit, what do you say, a concept called as continuous integration and delivery. At that point of time, what we are going to use is, we are going to use a tool called as Jenkins. So here, till this phase, it's all about development, guys. And now, in order to go ahead and start understanding what you say, integration, right? That's where CI comes into the picture. So CI/CD are two different parts. Continuous integration with respect to development, continuous delivery or deployment comes from the operations point of view. So in here, in order to implement this CI/CD, right? This is like automation, I can say. Automation or pipelines. If you want this, what do you say, process to be set up, here we are going to learn a separate tool called as Jenkins. Right. So here we'll be having a tool called as Jenkins. Now this tool, what exactly, like I said, it helps you in some what do you say, setting up the process, basically called as CI/CD. Right. So this, at the end of the day, it helps you connect all the dots.
Ravi, I had a question. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah. Just like raise your hands, guys, before going with the questions, right? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So in the testing phase, we saw there is one called JUnit and the other one is Sonar Cube. So I think one is for unit testing and the for basically identifying vulnerability and code smells. So is there anything specific to performance also that we do? I mean, probably using low cost or something. I'm not.
Yes, you can just check it. But according to our curriculum, this is what we are following, right? So we are not having any performance testing implemented in this course.
Okay.
Right? Yes. So as of now, only the unit testing and vulnerability testing. And once this part is done, like you'll understand, like, okay, like how, so here the intention is how the testing domain works actually. So that later on, when we are working with this automation phase, right? So how these particular tools can be integrated with the Jenkins, you'll get to know. The same thing right now, if you have some functional testing, or let's say you're using some performance testing tools like JMeter or Load Runner. So you need to also integrate the same thing with respect to Jenkins in the future, in case you are working with respect to those particular tools.
Got it.
Right? Yes. All right. Okay. Now what this part basically helps us, what you say is going and implementing the development and understanding the development flow. And we saw some redundant nature in the development flow. Now later on, using this Jenkins, what we do is we'll connect all the dots from the development. And once later on the delivery part, like what you say, you understand the operations. So Jenkins is going to be in between these two different phases. He's like the kind of, what you say, bridge between development and operations. Right. So that's the reason I kept it separately like that. Later we'll, what you say, patch both development and operations part. Now, once this part is done, is guys, then we will start looking into operations point of view. So development, what only one specific version of the app is deployed, we are ready. Now coming to the operations, we will have different types of challenges to deal with. Like what, imagine right now, you have like a large and vast infrastructure within your, what is the environment. Now, how are we going to start managing it? Like I already said in the last session, operations always talk from the administration point of view. installing servers, going and setting up operating systems on top of them, downloading and installing all the appropriate softwares, managing the security for those servers, managing the backups for those servers. Now, all these things come under what you say, your operations. Now, in order to deal with these operations, we got completely different set of things. So here, in order to understand the operations, like I said, you need to have initial basics first. That is what you are going to be taught right now. Your ongoing sessions are there, right? So they are teaching you what this Linux shell scripting. So these are all basics for operations first, right? So here, like I said, from the development point of view, you don't need any basics. Why? Because it's just understanding the process. From the operations point of view, that's where you require some kind of prerequisites. So that's what we basically learn first, like when it comes to operations point of view, right? So first here, you'll start understanding these things, like what initially your Linux basics, like basically OS basics, guys, right? And why Linux? Because the reason here, your entire course is going to revolve completely on the command line mode. From day one, you get started with, right? Till the end of the course, everything is going to be in the command line. So you'll learn like hundreds of commands throughout this course actually, right? So in order to get familiarized with that environment, you'll basically learn Linux first. That will give you some, what do you say, Linux basics, and also how the command line interface goes with. Once this particular Linux basics are done, then you are going to learn a little bit on the cloud part also. Some cloud basics. And this cloud, like I said, from the operating system point of view, you will learn an operating system called as CentOS. And from the cloud basics point of view, you'll be having, what you say, hands-on with respect to AWS. Okay. Once this particular part is done, you'll be going through shell scripting as well, like what do you say? That comes under Linux only, guys. Here, right? I'll just write one more thing. Right? Linux, shell scripting, cloud. Then there is something called like application stack also, like how applications work. What is web server? What is an application server? What is database server? What are load balancers? Like these are some common entities, are like, what is a basic things that everyone should be aware who is basically into the IT part. So for that, you're also going to have some knowledge on the application stack. So these are like kind of actually all the prerequisites first we need to complete. Once you complete this part, right, is then you'll start with this. Got the point? But the advantage is there is no dependency in either of them. So there is no dependency. Operations can continue further like that, whereas these things related to development can go with, right? So that's the reason why parallelly you will be going and handling these things, like what, working with Linux, shell, basics on the cloud, right? Then followed by application stack. Then we will begin with the actual concepts next, right? Now, once you understood the basics of operations, these are basics, guys, not DevOps related things. These are just prerequisites for DevOps. Once you are done with this part, then we are going to start working with the actual operations tools from the DevOps point of view. That's where you guys will start working with a lot of new tools right now. Once again, so first thing is you need to understand how you can provision your infrastructure. For provisioning the infrastructure, there is a tool called as Terraform. Right? It's a tool, and it comes under a category called as cloud provisioning. Cloud provisioning, or another popular term generally we go with, is called as infrastructure as code. infrastructure as code. This is this is also practice, I can say. From the DevOps point of view, it's a practice. So you need to understand how you can provision your cloud, and also basically it helps you convert your infrastructure into code formats. So here, the tool that you guys will go through is Terraform. Like I said, right, guys, so our infrastructure is going to be provisioned on AWS, right? Now imagine that you want to create some networks. You wanted to go ahead and create some kind of what is a servers. Every time manually you don't want to create it. So for that, we can use the tool called as Terraform, and you can quickly provision the infrastructure by using code. Also, the advantage, you already learned something called like version control. This helps you in managing the code actually. So here it becomes a lot easier to work with Terraform, right? So this one, what simple, this is completely manage infra. This is what it helps you do, right? Okay. Now using this Terraform, what you will set up your data centers, literally speaking. Your data centers are ready. Once the data centers are ready, on top of these data centers, what you'll be having servers, right? Let's imagine that you have some 1,000 servers. Like I said, now in those 1,000 servers, maybe you want to install something, you want to remove some software, you want to update some software, you want to manage some settings files. Now, if you have thousands of servers, manually you cannot go and do it. Manually, you will see the challenges here. What you know existing, right? Like how the earlier infrastructure used to work, how the earlier operations used to work. You'll understand all those basics here. And also you'll understand the problems also. Now these problems, what you observed here in this, you're going to fix from this. In that, one of the what is a practice that you need to work with is configuration management. Right, this is also one of the practice. So now in order to implement the configuration management, we got another set of tool. That tool name is basically Ansible. So this tool also, guys, it also comes under the category called as infrastructure as code also. Why? Because here also we are going to convert the entire infra into code actually. So I can say it is configuration management, and also it does come under as code. Right? But they have different, what do you say, goals. I said Terraform will manage the infra, meaning provisioning, creating, and all that. Once it is ready, someone needs to take care of those servers and these things, right? That can be done with the help of Ansible. Two different goals. One will provision and one will set up the things. Once the setup is done, what? Yes, you might want to go ahead and start running the apps, right? You can use Ansible to manage your virtual machines in a typical way. No, you want to go to the next level and you want to start managing your applications from the containerized format, right? That's where so you want to go with the model called as containerization. In that, you have one specific tool called as Docker. So like I said, in case, so these are all advanced part. So even if I say right now, it might not make sense, but simple, I can say this technology will help you run the applications in a compact fashion. So now there is a lot of scope in shifting your applications from legacy way to new things. Like we got something called like microservices in the market. So everyone is converting their apps into microservices format. Now, in order to work with those microservices, we need a technology like Docker. You'll see like how the legacy applications used to work and how they are going and using this containerization model, and then how you can go ahead and start working with respect to this patch, right? Similarly, you have something called like orchestration. container orchestration. This is one practice. And in this, we are going to understand about a tool called as Kubernetes. This is about the container orchestration, right? So like right now, from the operations point of view, these would be the tools that we are basically going to handle, like Ansible, Terraform, Docker, Kubernetes. Now, once this particular part is done, guys, this will help you what, like I said, right, all the infrastructure parts, like basically your IT infra is going to be handled with this. Then once these particular parts are done, what you say, like you can use all these particular tools to later, like I said, right, we'll be using Jenkins, right? The Jenkins will come in both of this. So all these tools will be connected with Jenkins, and all these particular tools are also going to be connected with Jenkins. That's what basically your pipelines are used for. So in the later part of the course, you'll be going and using the pipelines for this project, and you'll implement this. And on top of it, like I said, there are add-ons for you, right? So here you can see this Prometheus and Grafana. So these are purely for monitoring purpose. So you want to see how much resources are being consumed. Whenever a certain threshold has been reached, you want to send some kind of notifications, right? So that part you can go ahead and work with respect to Prometheus and Grafana. And there is something called like logging. So you want to see like all the logs, you want to have a centralization for logs, right? At that point of scenario, you'll be working with a tool called as Splunk. And similarly, there is a kind of what you can say small workshop with respect to how AI and machine learning can be used for the future DevOps. So there you will be having that particular information, right? So most probably, like I said, guys, so this is going to be handled by multiple trainers, right? So your basics will be taught by one particular person. I'll be handling most of this workload from Gate, Sonar Cube, Nexus, so all these particular things. And the last part, like especially this Terraform, Prometheus, Grafana, Splunk, AI. So this will be taught with respect to multiple ways, right? So this would be your curriculum, guys. And in case you want to check out, right, you can just check the same thing. So I'll even keep it in your chat window. Just a second. Yeah. So you can just check that, and in that you will find like all the specific, what do you say, guys, tabs for each one what you are going to learn. Right, just check them and you'll be able to see all these particular options that we are going to work as a part of your what do you say tools there. Right, just check this. And like I said already, once we begin with the things, right, so I think most probably you guys are done with Linux, most of you. So parallel, I'm going to start with my application stack and these things. So how the basics of operations work. Maybe in case you did not cover how to provision the cloud servers, going and provisioning the cloud servers. So all these things are also going to be dealt there. Right. So this is what your entire course curriculum is, guys. Right. So in case you still got any particular questions, right, you can always get back to what do you say, the admin team. So you'll be having admin team. They'll what do you say, add you as the part of WhatsApp group. So all the people who are joining for these sessions, right, you'll be having one WhatsApp group, and you can moving forward. All the information will be given there, like your videos, right, documentation, lab material, everything will be provided there itself. Right. Yeah. Let's see. I think there are a couple of questions from here. Yeah, you can go ahead with the questions. Yes, now one by one.
Hi, Ravi, this is Manoj. So this Terraform, so the infrastructure for Terraform, I mean, so the infrastructure monitoring for Terraform, is it only for cloud-based or is it also for distributed systems?
It's for especially cloud. So your tool called what do you say, Terraform, right? It is built to work with cloud, especially like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. So this is where it is focusing more on. Yes, there's a reason why we call it as a cloud provisioner.
But what is the role of AWS? Because when I think with AWS we can also provision the servers and infrastructure, right? So what is the integration between AWS and Terraform here?
Simple, Manoj, like I'll say like the difference. So these are all different vendors. You see right now, simple and classic example. You see we have like a lot of browsers in the market, right? We got Chrome, we got Firefox, we got Edge. On what basis we are selecting that? So it's user preference, correct?
Right.
Exactly same way. There are a lot of provisioning tools available. Like from AWS, there is something called like CloudFormation. If you take a standalone Python, there is something called like Boto. If you go ahead and start looking into the most famous vendor is like Terraform. So these are all different ways you can achieve it, but it's your choice. So in this particular course, we are using Terraform. That's the difference.
Okay. And during this part of the course or end of the course, so it will, do we have like something like a project based where
Yes, exactly. You guys are going to have one capstone project where you implement different things. And in the meanwhile, there will be some small projects that you are going to work with respect to like all small tools. You see, one small project with Jenkins, one small project with respect to Dockerizing, one small project on Kubernetes, one small project with respect to Terraform. Then you'll be having a main project at the end where you will be implementing everything. So this is where you'll write that pipelines and all those things.
Got it.
Right? Yes.
Thanks.
Ravi, I have a question.
Yeah,
I
go
would
ahead. Yes.
Yeah, actually, my question was for build management, we are using, you said that we'll be using Maven tool, right? Is Maven tool used for Java, Python, for all the programming languages, or also only Java?
Only Java. See, that's what. See, like I already said, there are thousands of tools in DevOps actually. This always changes based upon the company's projects. So
Okay.
if we are working with Java based, like for this particular course, like I said, right, we are going to work extensively with respect to Java part. That's the reason why we selected Java as the build tool here. But you'll also get to know like what are the different build tools available and how to work with them too.
Okay. The process of all the build tools were similar, or it would be different?
Process is always same. It's like syntaxes are different.
Okay. Even same with the release management as well?
Correct. Yes. All the release management tools. You take the testing tools. Like there are various unit testing frameworks available: JUnit, NUnit, XUnit. But it depends upon the project and the company at the end of the day what choice they are using.
Okay.
Right. See, same thing. Everything that I said in the practice is right. Right now, I was discussing with respect to version controlling. There are so many different tools: Bitbucket, GitHub, GitLab, right? Code commit, right? So you got so many tools, but this is what we are choosing for our particular curriculum, right? Yes. Yeah. Go ahead. Next question.
About lab, right? So lab we need to do on AWS free account, or do we have like any servers where we need to connect and do, because these are all applications. Like if we host or maybe like
Yes, guys. So this course is going to be getting charges for your AWS account. So you guys are going to maintain your own accounts, but a lot of things would fall under free tier, as our course is also designed with respect to 2 months, right? The advantage of using AWS free tier accounts is for 2 months, you don't need to pay any bill, even if you go beyond your exhaust. So you can just like, kind of discard that account once you're done with all your lab sessions and everything. You're good to go with. So you don't need to pay any price for that.
okay.
Right.
And the another thing, like a few of them, I think we already have the Linux basics done. So the course will be again be taken for the Linux basics, or
yes, exactly. Why? Because you guys are like from AWS, right? Again, these guys are like completely new to this part, so we are going to begin the things here.
Okay.
Right. Yes. Right. Okay. Let's see if we got one more question.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, Sandeep.
Yeah, hi Ravi, Sandeep here. Can we host all this application in physical machine and perform the same activity for DevOps?
Yes, of course. Yes. So all the same particular things, right? So if you have a good configuration machines, at least like why? Because these are so many different servers. So these are all each and individual servers. So if you have a good hardware capacity, you can go with this. So our course is not specific to AWS. Like I already said, our labs are being built on AWS, but whatever the instructions we are doing, right? all of them are going to work across either AWS, Azure, or your local machines also. If you have a very good capacity machines, like let's say you have some VMware installed, you can provision VMs and you can work on it.
So is there any minimum specification in terms of core RAM that we
you need at
will-
least 32 GB and above, most probably for this.
Okay, and 2 core would be sufficient.
Right. That's the reason why we are going and working with cloud, so that you don't need to
Right.
invest anything on the physical machines there. Why? Because we need 6-7 servers moving forward in order to work.
Right.
Right. That's the reason why we are opting for cloud, and that too, most of the things does not come under free tier for us. So that's the reason why we are going to make sure that we will use as much as possible for the next 2 months, and then we'll basically can discard that account and you can create the new ones moving forward for practicing.
Right.
Thanks.
Yep.
Sure, Raghu. Like I said, like generally, people who are like completely new to this part, right? You guys don't need to worry. So there will be a support team who will be there available for you in case you're not having any kind of experience with Linux further. Why? Because people already has some experience, fine. They can easily cope up with the subject. Moving forward, if you are having some difficulty, right? Obviously, there are like mixed amount of people here. We got people who are completely, what do you say? Non-IT background candidates, where it will be a little bit tough to manage. But like I said, you'll be having support. So make sure you utilize the support to the best. That's what I can say.
We can continue this class or
You can continue, no problem. Like I said, it's up to you. End of the day, you can just talk to the admins from Distilling and they'll let you know like whether you can continue with this or you want to take some more time with the basics itself, spend the part, and you can continue with the next batch as well. No problem. That is end of the day, your call.
okay.
Right? Yes.
Thank you.
Ravi,
Yes.
how much of Java would be required? I mean, from the understanding.
No, Kriti, here like there is no need of any Java programming knowledge, but
Okay.
at least you need to understand the programming concepts, like kind of what you say, what is the meaning of compilation errors, right? What is the meaning of a function? What is the main function?
Got it.
Right. So those kind of things we need to be aware of. That's what we are going to learn. It's not like understanding programming, but just understanding the developer mindset.
Got it.
Right, that we will see. Like that's what we are going to experience. Like you guys are going to play different roles. I mean, like you in the sense, I'll play the role of a developer and I'll show you how he works. I'll play a role of a tester, how he works. Then I'll play a role of what you say, a system administrator who's going to do the deployment. Once you observe these roles, then you grasp that knowledge and then you'll get into the DevOps.
Okay.
Ravi, one question. Majority of the DevOps, which code it will be prioritized? I mean to say, it's a Linux or it's Java? Overall DevOps.
It's not like that, Krishna. Like I said, DevOps requires multiple skill sets to move forward. So like I said, initially you might be coming from some kind of what you say development or system administration background or testing background. Like you will take up the thing which is most relevant to your part for time being. But in the future, as you evolve, you will need to get into different what you say domains of DevOps. Like I said, from the development point of view, we look at one thing, and from operations point of view, we look at one thing. Right. But like I said, for this part, we're going to look into all these things, right? And I already said also, it's not just development and or operations. Understanding point of view, you need to have the entire knowledge. But once you start working and what you say, going to specific, right? Then you can select. You want to work with these tools, right? You can select that and then you can start moving into that particular domain for interview preparation and all that.
Okay, thanks.
Right? Yes. No problem, Lakshman. Like I already said, this is not Java programming course or something like that. Like I said, you need to understand the mindset. That's it. So don't worry about coding much. You are not going to write the Java code, but it does not mean that you'll not write the code. You will write code, of course, but that code is going to be a little bit different from traditional programming code like Java or what you say, your .NET. These kind of things you'll not see. That's the only difference. But coding will be there 100%. Right, you can say this part is almost coding. Yes, Terraform, Ansible, this Docker, Kubernetes little bit, but Terraform and Ansible is pure code. It's like scripting, next level scripting, you can say. Got it? Right. That is completely different. It comes under big data, Hadoop. That does not have anything relevant to DevOps. Yeah, that is completely different. Yes. That's a different technology. So when in case you are looking towards big data, right? So at that point of time, you learn those things, right? For cloud and that part, it's not related.
Hi Ravi.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
example, if my organization is using a Google Cloud or maybe the Azure, is the DevOps concepts are going to be similar, or do I need to learn something different in order to
Exactly
maintain?
same. There is no difference at all. Why? Because these are completely what you say, platform independent.
Okay.
Right.
So with these
So
concepts, even we can actually spin up some, if there are any free versions of Google Cloud, we can do
exactly,
that one
yes.
as
So
well.
if you have like already have prior experience on Azure and Google Cloud, how to spin up the machines and everything, then you can repeat exactly same steps.
Okay, thanks.
Right. I think except for this Kubernetes part, most of the things are same. There is no change. In Kubernetes, we are going to use some dependencies with respect to AWS, but the same thing can be applicable for Azure and AWS. Sorry, Google Cloud also. But like whatever the cloud basics we are learning from AWS, right? The same thing you need to also upskill on Azure and Google Cloud. That's the only difference.
Okay. I'm sorry, maybe this is going to be a silly question. Previously, I thought that AWS EC2 are kind of, we can run the microservices, but as you explained, it's going to be a server, and we need to contain containerization using the Docker on top of it, right?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Right. We'll see like how that model goes and what's the disadvantage. Like if we run the applications in a typical standalone VM, how what do you say, resources are going to be wasted, which we will overcome with the help of this containerization model. Like it's basically like you can say migrating the apps from traditional things to microservices.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the minimum knowledge on regarding to the Java and these things. I just know only JavaScript and as well as like Apex and Visual Force. So can I able to replace the Maven tool?
Yes, like I already said, guys, there is no prior requirement for programming knowledge here, but coding knowledge is required. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes,
Programming is different, and coming to scripting, it is different. So you
Yes,
guys
sir.
need to be good at scripting, which is like completely irrelevant for whether you know Java technology or not.
Okay.
So Java technology or Python or Node.js, this we are learning just to make you familiarized with the development concepts. That's it. Only that will be used in this particular frame of the picture. That's it. This is where you need language basics. That to not going and writing the code, just understanding. That's it.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yes. Like I hope now you got all the points. Right? Yes. Any questions from offline yet? Good. Okay. So this is what we are going to get started with. Yeah. So you'll be giving like you'll be given the instructions like how the things will go out and when we are going to start. Like I said, few things will be there on weekends also, like Saturday and session, same timings. There will not be any difference there, but you'll be given at least 1 week prior intimation about that, right? But this part will regularly go out. So Monday to Friday, daily 1 hour, 15 minutes would be our session to go with that part. All right. Yes. Okay, and moving forward, so like we'll be given some induction about how to access the videos and all these things once they set up all the parts. So you're like all the people will be part of one Google Drive account, and all the information would be stored there. You can just access all the information there, right? Okay. All right. Okay. Any other further questions, guys, from online? Let me know. Right. Okay. Yeah, if we all good, then we'll stop it. And from Monday, guys, so next we will be having our actual session started from Monday. So from Monday onwards, we are going to begin the things, right? So most probably Monday, you don't need any laptops and everything. I'll also say like how we can proceed with the labs. So mostly I'll try to set up the labs live itself so that you can also parallelly do, and we can say instinct. That's what we will be doing. But I'll tell you like how we are going to do the labs also, right? That will get started on Monday once we started going with it. And I'll tell you like what are all the tools that you need to install in your laptops to move forward, right? Okay. Right. Okay.
Hi Ravi. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Ablesh.
Yeah, so today is my first day. I haven't got any links for Linux. So I just wanted to know that has it started or is it going to start in some time?
No, Ablesh, like maybe you can just gather this information from the point of contact you have with you. So either Pavan or Jesse or Santosh, anyone who is there in point of contact, right? Just let them know. They'll give you like the prior more information about that.
Okay, that's yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Chalo.
Hi, Ravi.
Hello.
Hi, Ravi.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, hi, Vikas here.
Yeah, Vikas, go ahead.
Actually, today's class I almost missed. I just joined before 5 minutes. Sorry about that.
Sure, no problem. Like I said, like they'll be having the video recordings, right? They'll just share the links with you, because